Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. This one is recorded a little bit later than when I usually record my videos, usually in the afternoon. This one is recording at around 7 p.m., so in the evening on Sunday, October 3rd. If you don't know, if you're watching this in the future, which you definitely are, any time in the future, you could search up this date and you'll probably find out some interesting stuff relating to baseball. I am a Jays fan. I currently don't really have that much memorabilia. I only have like a few baseballs over here. Like there's really nothing, and then this one just Toronto team like sweater. But I'm going to be talking about the Jays as it came down to game 162 to decide the wildcard teams for the American League and who's going to be the number one wildcard spot in the National League. Let's get started. Just a little bit of backstory. In game 161, it was a pretty tight race with four teams all being in between one game of each other. The Yankees and Red Sox both being tied for the 1 and 2 spots in the wild card at a record of 91 and 70, and the Blue Jays and Mariners were both tied at 90 and 71, one game back of the Red Sox and the Yankees, and were tied and basically needed either the Yankees or the Red Sox to lose and them to win for them to end up getting a tiebreaker. This is because when two teams tie and there's more than two spots, so if there's three teams that have a chance for a wild card spot, and let's say the Yankees won, the Red Sox lost, and the Blue Jays won. The Red Sox and the Blue Jays would have the same record at 91 and 71, and the Yankees would be at 92 and 70. Let's say the Mariners lost. They're out. They're eliminated because they needed to win. So the Blue Jays won and the Red Sox lost. This means that since there's only one wild card spot and there's two teams, they would have to play a tiebreaker. And what happens is they play a game the day after, and it'll be at the team who won more games in the season series. So if it was the Blue Jays and Red Sox, the Red Sox would have home field advantage for that tiebreaker. So what happens is, what needs to happen for the Blue Jays is the Blue Jays need to win, and either the Yankees or the Red Sox need to lose. Both is perfectly fine, but they just need one, at least one. The Mariners also need just one between the Red Sox and the Yankees to lose for there to be a tiebreaker. The Mariners and Blue Jays, it doesn't really matter if one of them wins and the other doesn't, because if the Blue Jays lose, then they're out. If the Mariners lose, they're out. If the Mariners win, they get a chance at a tiebreaker if the Red Sox or Yankees lose. And same thing with the Blue Jays. It's a little confusing. If you don't understand baseball, please search it up. It's a lot more, I'm not that good at explaining, and it's a lot easier if you just search it up. So, to start the game, they all start at 3 o'clock because they don't want there to be an unfair advantage for a team that plays later than another team, and they're in that wild card race. So, they play all at 3 o'clock, and the Jays come out with a convincing 9-1 lead in the third, and it was pretty convincing from the get-go. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., that's his nickname, Vladdy, hit his 48th home run of the season, tying the MLB leader in Kansas City, Salvador Perez, who was a catcher for them, who also has 48 home runs on the season. George Springer homers twice in the game, one as a leadoff man, and then a grand slam in the third to make it 9-1. Marcus Semien hits his 45th home run of the season and ends up all those hits, all those home runs end up winning the game for the Blue Jays over the Baltimore Orioles 12-4, and they get a convincing win. This means that for the Blue Jays, they either need the Yankees or the Red Sox to lose. If they do, then there's a tiebreaker. There's a tiebreaker the next day. So, the first game that comes to a conclusion is the Yankees game. If you already know what's going to happen, I'm just going to be explaining it. But the Yankees and the Rays. The Rays are the best team in the American League East and already clinched a playoff spot, but they don't like their division rivals. Of course, who would like their division rivals? They play the Yankees. They beat them the first two games, and this game is a must-win for the Yankees. If they win, they're in the wild card. Easy peasy. If they lose, they may have to play a tiebreaker, and in this case they would have to with the Blue Jays. This game goes 0-0 all the way till the 9th inning. The 9th inning, top of the 9th, Aroldis Chapman comes in for the Yankees and pitches a great inning for them, and the Rays end up getting 3 outs and nothing really happening. Then the bottom of the ninth comes in. If you're a person that doesn't like the Yankees, then you probably know what's going to happen. The Yankees end up winning 1-0 with an infield single by Aaron Judge as they throw to home. He's safe, and they end up winning the wild card. So if you're a Blue Jays or Mariners fan, you're thinking, okay, the Yankees lost. Now it all comes down to the Red Sox. So yes, the Yankees win 1-0. They get the first seed in the wild card, and now the Jays and the Mariners need the Nationals to beat the Red Sox. Right there, right then, the game is still not over, as the Yankees game was over, and that is where we get to the final game. So, Red Sox and Nationals. The Nationals came out swinging amazing. They were hot. They ended up scoring 5 runs to the Red Sox 1, and they ended up leading 5-1 after 5 innings. So at this point, the Nationals are sitting pretty. The Red Sox need a bunch of hits, a bunch of runs, and they need it quick. There's only 4 innings to go, and they need runs now. If they lose, they're going to have to play a tiebreaker against the Blue Jays, and the Mariners game was still not over, but the Angels were winning against the Mariners. So the Red Sox need to win, or else they're playing the Blue Jays. So, on the top of the 6th, they ended up getting a home run by, I think, Rafael Devers, or maybe he had a home run to get their first run on the day. Either way, he had a solo home run, and that ended up giving them a 1 run. There was a home run. Then in the 7th, it is 5-2 right now. The Red Sox end up getting 3 runs in the 7th to tie the game up at 5-5. Already, Blue Jays fans are like, oh, that's great. 4 runs, and they end up blowing them all. And now it literally all comes down to the Nationals, who are one of the worst teams in their division and one of the worst teams in the league altogether. And now they need them to come up clutch. So it goes scoreless in the 8th inning and the bottom of the 7th, of course. Then the top of the 9th comes in. It's 5-5, and the Red Sox are batting. First batter ends up taking a walk, and with 1 out, their guy who hit a home run earlier in the game, Rafael Devers, comes up to the plate and smacks a hanging pitch. I'm not sure if it was a slider or curveball, but it was up in the zone, destroys it center field, and that ends up giving them a 7-5 lead. So already Blue Jays fans like, oh, that's great. Now we just need the Nationals to score 2 runs, or else we're eliminated. So now it's 7-5, bottom of the 9th. They end up getting 2 easy outs. And then with Juan Soto coming to the plate, he needs a walk so they can set up the tying run to the plate. And Juan Soto is their best player. He's been great for them. And unfortunately, they end up striking out him while looking with a great curveball. And they end up striking out, and the Red Sox win, meaning the Red Sox and the Yankees are going to be playing in Fenway Park, because they have the same record, remember. So it's going to be in Fenway Park on Tuesday. And the Blue Jays are unfortunately eliminated. The Mariners are eliminated as well. They needed a win, and they needed the Red Sox or the Yankees to lose. And unfortunately for the Blue Jays and Mariners, that did not happen. So, as a Blue Jays fan, this was very, very disappointing. And one thing that kept coming back into my mind is that, of course, if you're 1 game behind, it means you needed to win 1 more game. And you would have ended up with the wildcard spot, or tied at least. Here are 2 examples that could have happened if you're a Blue Jays fan. One against the Seattle Mariners of all teams. So on August 14th, the Blue Jays came off of a slump. They did not play well, or they played decent against the Los Angeles Angels in their series earlier, and against Seattle, they were not playing well. They just started getting into a slump, and they just couldn't hit, and that was very, very unfortunate for them. Well, in one of the games in this series on August 14th, if you're wondering, that was the start of the NFL preseason. The Mariners are in the bottom of the 9th, and they are tied at 2-2. And of course, all you need is 2 outs. They end up getting 3 people on base, and the tying and the winning run, all they need to do is get a walk. And what happens is the closing pitcher, Brad Hand, ends up throwing 3 strikes to that guy, to the batter. And what ends up happening is, well, he throws another ball, and the Mariners win. So that game could have been avoided. If they just got 1 more out, that would have ended the game for them, and they would have gone into extra innings where they could have won. And that didn't happen. They ended up losing. So very unfortunate for them, but that could have been that 1 game where it could have been a tiebreaker. Another example is against the Tigers. 1 week later, or specifically 8 days later, against the Tigers. They won the first game against them, and the second game is a lot more stressful. 2-1 at the bottom of the 9th. or at the top of the ninth, and the Tigers, they're down to their final out. A ground ball down to Marcus Semien ends up getting thrown to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who ends up throwing an error and unfortunately bobbles the ball, and they get the tying run safe at home, which ties the game up at 2-2 in the top of the ninth. What ends up happening is now the game is tied. It ends up going extra innings at the top of the 10th. And at the 10th inning, the Tigers end up scoring 1 run to make it 3-2. And what ends up happening is they end up winning. So that's another game that could have been avoided. If they ended up winning, they would have been tied. If they end up winning both games, they would have actually had a wild card spot. That's all that needed to do. Another example is what happened just this week. They were winning, the Blue Jays were winning 2-0 against the Yankees, or 2-1, either way, they were winning, and they ended up giving a huge home run to one of the Yankee players. I think it was Rizzo or Stanton, either way. What happens is that home run ends up getting out Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray was a Cy Young leader for the Jays and great pitcher overall. He ends up letting up a home run. They could take him out of the game, and they get their relievers in. Anyways, those relievers end up allowing 4 more home runs, which end up bursting the game open for the Yankees and end up winning. That's another game that could have been avoided. If all those 3 games end up all being wins, they would have been a wild card spot easily. If 2 of those games were wins, they would have a wild card spot. And if they just had 1 of those games, they would have been tied and have a tiebreaker, tomorrow. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. It's very unfortunate. Hopefully, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. can get an MVP. Maybe Robbie Ray can get a Cy Young. You never know. It may not happen. It's very unfortunate. But yeah, just wanted to give a little breakdown of what happened today. Great day for Game 162. Crazy. And yeah, the Giants ended up winning as well. They locked up their NL West, and they get the first seed in the National League playoffs. And the Dodgers end up getting the wild card. And yeah, that's about it. It's very, very unfortunate for the Blue Jays, Yankees, and Red Sox on Tuesday. And that's going to be very interesting to watch. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.